While football, basketball, and baseball might come to mind when you think about high school sports, at Central Crossing High School in Grove City, Ohio, Jamie Ramirez has been able to put more banners on the wall than many other sports teams. So I sat down with head coach of the Central Crossing Comets wrestling team to see why they've been so successful.
Coming in here, they had a successful program before I got here. They had won multiple OCC titles. Coach Van Gundy did a great job. They had a good youth program, and they had a lot of families who were wrestling families, so they traveled all over. And when I came in here, there was a mix of them already here. There was a handful in middle school, and there was some getting through grade school. So there was a really strong nucleus here coming in to Central Crossing. So I kind of inherited that.
I had a good opportunity to come on into an open mat this evening, and I understand that you run those throughout the entire year?
Yeah, we try to, just to keep people fresh. We know that they're involved in other sports. We want them to be involved. I got 3 boys, which you've seen tonight at open mats. They're involved with other sports, they're involved with football, but we just don't want them to forget about wrestling for a whole 7 or 8, 9 months. We want them to at least hit one. I know a lot of kids are going to clubs and things, and that's great, but we also come here once a week and try to get everybody who's not getting on a mat somewhere else. And we also do weightlifting as well. So just try to keep them active.
What might you say to someone like myself who was fearful of hitting the mat as an athlete in high school because I was so stuck on football?
Well, I would say just go ahead and look at the history of some of the great football players. Guys like Ray Lewis, maybe one of the best ever, right? He gives credit to wrestling for what he was able to accomplish on a football field. You talk to NFL head coaches, and they say, if everything's even, I want the wrestler. Wrestling's not going to hurt you, especially linemen. I mean, it's going to help with their agility, their core, their strength. It's going to help with their competition level. So that's that. I know football is a team sport, and on wrestling, you're on a team, but when you walk out in that circle, your team doesn't go with you. So I think fighting through those things, overcoming those things, being comfortable with your body and being able to control your body, it would definitely help you on the football field.
For those who might say, oh, it's not a team sport or something like that, what would you say?
I would say, it's not a team sport when they're competing, but there's definitely a team here. There's definitely a team environment here. These guys are like brothers in here. They have blood, sweat, and tears, and they're doing these workouts together. And when they, if someone said this wasn't a team sport, just pull up to a tournament or go to a really good dual meet one day and watch them cheering each other on. So you have both dynamics as an individual and a team sport. So that's pretty good about it.
What speaks to the greatness of the Central Crossing Comet program?
Well, I just think it starts, at a youth level, So, you'll talk to any successful coach or a coach who wants to be successful or someone who's trying to give you advice. First thing they're going to tell you is, do you have a youth program? And they had a strong youth program here before I got here. There was a couple-year lag where they didn't have anything going. That levy came. I heard a lot of sports here at Central, including wrestling. So when I came here back in 2010-11, we started the youth program again. And we got it up. We're one of the largest youth programs in Central Ohio. I mean, we have routinely, annually, 60 to 70 kids. And so not every kid's going to stick with it. Wrestling's not for everyone, but wrestling is a sport that can help a young kid grow. It can help somebody who's autistic. It can help, and when I say kid, it's going to be boy or girls. This was the first year since I've been here that we had a girl on the team, and she was tough. She was our first state placer in school history for the girls' state championship. So girls wrestling is really growing. So I would really say, emphasize on the team concept or people getting involved with it. You're included with a bunch of people. You learn a skill. if anything else, it keeps kids busy. It keeps them moving. I remember my kids are almost all in high school now. I remember there was a time when they came to me and said they didn't want to wrestle anymore. And they kind of teamed up on me. I'm sitting on the table and they're like, Dad, I don't want to do this. This is your sport. So I'm like, okay, kind of like a sucker punch right there, Now what, right? And then I'm like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to wrestle, but you're going to come to practice. You're going to do the push-ups. You're going to do all the workouts, because they just were saying they didn't want to compete. But a lot of kids, if you give them the easy way out, they'll take it. Mm-hmm. So they came to practice, and then by the time they did all that, they said, well, we might as well compete. We're doing all that. So I just think, especially now with this COVID era too, some kids, you got to keep them busy. You got to keep them moving. You got to keep them engaged. So that's what we try to do on a youth level here, all the way up, and hopefully we keep them. And I'm starting to see kids. We've had a good surge come through here from youth kids, and that's why we were really good for a while, because like I said, I inherited a good bunch. Now we're starting to see kids trickle in that've been in the youth program, and that just works wonders, once they get to high school.
Were there any kids who you've now seen come through high school here?
Just about my whole team right now. If you go look at my current high school team, over 75% of them were involved in our youth wrestling program at one time. And I say, they might not have been hammers, they might not have been the best of the best coming up through youth, but just having that knowledge. Like, I also coached middle school football for years. I just moved up to the freshman level this year. And I tell even the football coaches, I'm like, I never coached football, didn't really play in high school because I was too small. And I do it to recruit. I love football. It's great. All my kids play it. I love watching it, and I actually love coaching it. But my first reason for doing it was, hey, I want to get the athletes out. And so even if you couldn't get them out at youth, you can get them in middle school. That's huge, right? Even we got our state champion, Cam Teacher. He started wrestling in high school. He didn't wrestle in middle school, so he was just a heck of an athlete and bought in, and he's doing great things.
What was Cam Teacher able to achieve after starting wrestling in middle school?
Oh man, what didn't he achieve? I mean, he was a state champ. He was outstanding. State champ his senior year, undefeated. He was outstanding wrestler of the tournament, the state tournament. Went on to become a 4-time All-American, and just recently was a national champ for NCAA Division II, and was voted USA Wrestler of the Year. So I mean, people know who Cam Teacher is, and I always tell the story to even the kids today. I remember him as a freshman, because it's a brutal sport. It's a tough sport. You've been in our room. It's not for everybody. And so I remember he was standing at the door one day after a couple of weeks of wrestling, and this was his first time out. We could see that he had the skill level. We could see that he had the potential. But it was going to take some time. It was going to take some work, and he was ready to quit. He was standing at the door with his mom. He was ready to hang it up, and we wouldn't let him. We wouldn't take no for an answer. And he was a football player too. I think it helped him become a better football player. And then he ended up choosing wrestling for college and got a full ride, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
If Cameron Teacher had gone on to quit that day, he wouldn't have ended up becoming a 4-time All-American and a national champion at St. Cloud. I got on a Zoom call with Cameron so he could tell me a little bit about his experience at Central Crossing.
He got me to wrestle my freshman year, and it was tough to where there was a time I wanted to quit, but no, he wouldn't let me. So, I mean, if it wasn't for him, then yeah, I really wouldn't have been here, really, because he's the person who really got me into wrestling and really got me to, helped me get to where I am today, really.
I think there's a philosophy behind, or a method rather, to your madness. You're not going to let anyone just have the easy way out. You're going to continue to push them. And what is that behind you? Is that just a coach mindset? Is that a father mindset? What is it for you to see potential in someone and not just let them walk out the door?
Yeah, because, I was thinking, a lot of kids we get, you're not going to get state qualifiers out of them, not state place. There's a small percentage of kids that go to state, even smaller that place, or state champions. My high school coach, Al Voganaller, he coached his whole life. He's in coaching Ohio High School Hall of Fame, and he never had a state champ. Sometimes it takes a little bit of luck, right? So it's all the other kids you touch, though. It's all the other kids that come through here and learn. We call them life lessons. Everybody likes to say life lessons, but what are life lessons? The world is a tough place out there, man. Nobody cares if you're having a bad day. Nobody cares if things are going tough. And here you learn to fight through that stuff. And everybody heard that statement. If you start quitting this, the next thing's going to be easier to quit, and the next thing, and it's a domino effect. Well, it works the other way too. You start fighting through things, and next thing you know, you're opening up doors you didn't think that you could. So, just not giving up on somebody, and then watching them see the potential in themselves, and then them start to believe in themselves. It's a powerful weapon. So. And I guess as a father, figuring out now that my boys are older, I see them as these kids are my kids' age. So, it's the father in me, the father instinct in me, as well as the coach. So they go hand in hand.
For anyone who thinks I might want to come wrestle, and I know there's no recruiting.
Yeah.
But
well, we can recruit. We can recruit in our building. We can recruit in our hallways,
Sure.
which I do. Yeah.
Sure, within the school.
Yeah.
But in the OCC, it's a tough district overall. The Ohio Capital Conference, and depending on where you are, you're battling against schools like the Dublins and the Hilliards, Upper Arlington, Olentangy. They have $1 million complex, don't they?
Yeah, Olentangy Liberty. Yeah, they just built it a few years ago. They had it was pretty amazing facility they have.
If you were to have $1 million facility, wouldn't you be winning states as a team?
Well, I don't know. I think you can get things done in a room. I mean, our room is not very big. It's a mat and a third. Would we want a bigger room? Yeah. Would we want all that space? Yeah, probably. But I think you can get things done wherever you're at.
What goals might you have for your team and for other individuals coming into your program in the coming years?
Well, you talked about being in OCC, how tough it is. And I can attest it's 30-some teams, and we're broken up in 4 divisions. And I remember the one year where we had some hammers, and we ended up placing 5th in state overall as a team, score-wise, Division I. And that, that's pretty good. And we placed 4th in our conference that year. So if that gives you any idea, of course that's dual meet versus tournament-style scoring, but still. So my goals have always been the same, philosophy-wise, with the program is when you stand out there in that circle, we talked about being a team, but your team doesn't go with you. But one thing I want them to accomplish is when the match is over, I want that other person that was out there with them to know there was somebody standing there. I want them to know, hey, I had a battle for this. Win or lose, this kid came to fight and not give up and just go out there and, just try your best. Of course I want to win. I'm very competitive, but I want the kid to go out there, keep getting better, and fight, And so I think if you work hard and you continue to fight and you continue to try to get better, this sport, you can't help but not see the improvement, And we have, you took pictures and you can see in the background all of our state placers. So if you place in state, you're going to get your picture on the wall. If you qualify to state, you're going to get your name on the wall. And that's going to be there for the rest of their life. That's not going off that wall. So the kids know that, like they see all these pictures. I want to be next to this person. I want to be the next one, The youth kids come in here, they look up on the wall, they see the pictures, they see the names, and they start having goals at a young age. I like to do that. So, it's great because it's a sport where you can set your own individual goals and you can attain them, and who's to say you can't do something?
If you've ever dreamed of a career in the sports production industry, your dream could come true. The Ohio Media School is enrolling their next sports emphasis class soon. You'll learn about all the different aspects of what goes into the broadcast that you watch or listen to. Go from behind the scenes to the front of the camera. You'll also get hands-on opportunities to practice your skills through the Score On Air network. Call the Ohio Media School at 614-655-5250.
Well, you know what? Growing up in Columbus, Ohio, I remember being at the age of 10. We had career day. And, firemen and policemen would come into our school, and everybody said, "I want to be a fireman, I want to be a policeman." So they got to me and they say, "Mike Clark, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a boxer." And the whole classroom erupted in laughter, just laughed and laughed and laughed. And it set me down in a low spot because it really bothered me. And I never liked being picked on, so it got me in the boxing ring, man. And now I go back to these schools and I talk to these kids, and some of the teachers are still there, and they cry. They can't believe that I actually made it. Coming from the hood, and I, became Mike Clark. I make the name bigger than what it was.
From Columbus, Ohio, Michael Clark!
Well, I grew up on a number street. I grew up on 17th Avenue. When we lost my stepfather, we moved to the shore north of Columbus, which is on 4th Street and 11th. And that was back in the 80s, early 90s, and that was a rough neighborhood back in those days. So my stepfather worked at a construction site called John Scales building out east off of Main Street. And they had an outdoor fight, and I was representing OYC Boxing Club off of Mark Road back then. I fought a kid from Sawyer, which is across the road here off of Leonard, from Sawyer Boxing Gym, and that was my first fight. Every time I see that guy, I go, you know what? You got me started. That first victory, I ain't look back. Amateur boxing back in those days, in the late 80s, early 90s, was a lot of fun because all the recreation centers would fight each other every week. It was a fight every week. Every Thursday would fight. And then, small places like Dayton, Cincinnati, Cleveland, we'd go to those little towns and fight too. So it was a lot of fighting back in those days. We would fight Norwood, which is by Cincinnati. We'll be, in the hood in Cincinnati, Finley Street. Like I said, Cleveland, Dayton, Miami. We was everywhere boxing. Every Thursday was a boxing match somewhere in Central Ohio. So 1992, my senior year, was also the year of the Olympics. And I just won the National Golden Gloves. I had just gotten back from International Golden Gloves, went overseas to fight. And I fought a guy from Mongolia, 32 years old. I was only 18 years old. I was 18 years old, fighting a 32-year-old from Mongolia. So back in those days, open fighters was start at 16. You would fight grown men. And for me to beat a 32-year-old grown man at 18 years old was phenomenal. So it got me ranked number 8 in the world to fight in the Olympic trials. So I went to the Olympic trials, ranked number 8. I drew the straw, fought a guy from Cleveland. I beat him. So I supposed to be in the quarterfinal. I had to fight a guy named Ivan Robinson from Philadelphia, who became a world champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the winner in the blue corner from Columbus, Ohio, Region 5, Michael Clark.
Early years as a pro, I was signed with the Kronk team up in Detroit, Michigan with Emmanuel Stewart, Tommy the Hitman Hearns, Michael Moore, Joel McCullough, a few of the big names in boxing. And, you know, coming from Columbus, going to a real hood up in Detroit it was scary, you know, water bugs in the shower, you know, the gym was in a poor neighborhood. But what I did was I stayed with Emmanuel Stewart in his own personal house. He had a nice sized mansion and, you know, had a key card to get into his garage. And it was phenomenal, man, just to be at 19 years old, you know, only being in the amateur rankings for 8 years to turn pro at 19 it was a dream come true. Well, you know, Emmanuel watched me fight in Olympic trials, and he knew I had the technique it took to become a monster. So, you know, being under his wing, he automatically threw me in there out the gate. So my first week there with him, he sent me to Mexico to be Julio Cesar Chavez's sparring partner. So later on, I became Julio Cesar Chavez's sparring partner for another fight because he loved my work. So at 19 years old, here I am in Mexico sparring with Chavez for 3 months. That was for the Frankie Randall rematch. For the next time he called me in to spar with him. I was there for 6 months. We went to every part of Mexico to advertise the fight for Vegas. That's when he fought Mildred Taylor for the second time. He stopped Mildred Taylor in the 8th round and gave me a bonus. Well, I won my first belt at 22, 23 years old. I won my first belt. It was just a Midwestern title, you know, tri-state type belt. Then I went on to win the lightweight belt here in Columbus. After that, I won the IBC international belt. That took me on to fight for the IBC world title here in Columbus at the fairgrounds during the fair on ESPN. And after that, I got ready for the NABF title, which is the #1 belt in the world for the IBC, for WBC.
Judge Glenn Hamada scores the bout 115-113 Clark. Judge Vince Delgado scores it 116-112 Quinones. And finally, Judge Max DeLuca scores it 115-113 for your winner by split decision and new NABF lightweight champion, Michael Clark.
So after winning your lightweight belt, tell us about your time on The Contender, the boxing reality series with Sylvester Stallone and Sugar Ray Leonard.
Everything to me is just about having fun, you know.
Oh, I found something.
I am a huge talker in the ring. In fact, I fought one time and the referee had to stop the fight for me to stop talking. Boxing has always been fun for me.
Well, to make a long story short, they had an audition out in Pittsburgh, but at the airport. So I had to go to Pittsburgh and go to the airport and do this audition. So when I get there and I'm talking with the people that's doing the interview just to see the personality type thing, they fell in love with me because I was a clown off the gate. You know, I was laughing, talking about Don King's hair, and they had a good time with me. And it was supposed to be an hour interview, ended up being a 3-hour interview. So they knew I could handle the competition even though the weight class was bigger. The weight class was 160 middleweights. I was a 135 pounder, which is a lightweight. So I was like 3 or 4 classes in front of me, higher classes, but they knew I could handle the competition. They said, man, we love your personality, we want you on the show. We want you to go to California, do another interview, and if that works, you'll be on the show. I told them flat out, listen, I don't like to fly. So if I'm gonna be on the show, they need to tell me now, because I'm not flying to California for nothing. So they said, Mr. Clark, you on the show. So on the show, you know, Sylvester Stallone sat us down and talked to us one-on-one. Sugar Ray Leonard did the same thing, sit and talk to us one-on-one. These dudes fell in love with me. They're like, listen, you're gonna be the star of the show. We love your personality. So basically, guys that were shy, they didn't really want to talk much, they were afraid of the cameras, I would go over there and talk to them, pick on them. You know, I made K-9 who he was. The K-9 didn't talk. He was really into the Bible. He was really shy, but he was a bully. Nobody really wanted to mess with K-9. They were scared of K-9. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna fight K-9. I'm gonna fight him first. And they loved it.
After a disappointing loss to K-9 Bundridge, Michael Cold-Blood Clark has serious questions about his future.
I am officially done Done boxing.
Hey, Michael. Huh? If that's the fight you retire on, you got no apologies to make to anybody. That was beautiful.
Just go home and get me a real job. Who knows what's going to happen with Mike Clark now? I might just hang it up, go home and marry this beautiful woman and raise my kids. I'm extremely proud of myself. Being a kid from the ghetto, not promised tomorrow. I believe in my community and where I'm from the Buckeye State, I'm a superhero. Well, I was training kids as, when my career was still going, I was still training kids on the side. So I kind of just jumped into this one day because I was at work and I said, you know what? This ain't me. I'm not living the life I want to live. I'm a trainer. I don't really want to work for nobody. I left my job. And we opened up this gym. It was just a warehouse, a little tight place. It was a storage unit. I swept this place out, cleaned it up as best I could, and started putting it together. Started putting the lights in, started putting the walls in, started putting the flooring in, started ordering my bags, put my names on the mats, me and Buster's, where we went to high school at and so forth. But I've been doing this for a long time, but I just now got into it full time, starting to pay off. I just did my second kids camp. From our home high school, we did boxing as kids. This man grew up. The first person put my Texas jacket on his back. We best buds, y'all. Come on in. Everybody, this is Buster James Douglas.
Big enough.
Yeah, it's big enough.
You know, Panthers.
So look out the Jerry, see that?
We're gonna see that, Mama.
Yeah, let's show about some of them get a heart like dog. Let's show them over here. Please wait a minute. Back up a little bit. Spell your name right. You're with the ladies, You know what, man? It really means a lot to me because, you know, a lot of people see me, they know I'm a class clown, or they know I can be real angry at times too. But my community means everything to me because when I was one of those kids nobody gave a look to, I surprised everybody. And so one of these kids in here are gonna surprise somebody. And it may not be the kids that hit the mitts better than the other kids. It might be that kid that's shy, that's scared to get up on there and do his chin-ups, the one that cries all the time because he's a mommy's boy. He might be that one that shine, but somebody got to show him how to do it. Somebody got to show him the pass or show him the ropes, give him that edge. And that's what I want to give back to my community. You know, I don't cost a lot of money. I charge 20 bucks for kids. I know some personal trainers up in Delvin charge 60, 50 bucks. It's a lot of money. People can't afford for that stuff here. You know, so when they turn their face up with me about 20 bucks, I go, you know what? I can work with you. Just don't say nothing. Just give me 5 bucks. Give me 10 bucks. We'll work with your kid. I'm affordable. I always say my logo is I'm the cheapest in the city. I'm the less for the best. I'm the best for less. Straight, straight. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, duck out. Up and straight. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, straight. 1, 2, straight, duck out. 1, 2, straight, duck out. Hit. Hit. Let's go. Get back on the bag. Let's go. Pick it up. This is Michael Cold-Blood Clark, the kid from Columbus, the kid that had a dream, that made the dream, that's going to share his dream.